So they already got Joe Burrow's deal done, right? One of the highest paid quarterbacks. They got both receivers done, and now they're trying to get Trey Hendrickson's deal done. Even if the Bengals get Trey Hendrickson done, and they sign him and now add him to Higgins, to Chase, to Burrow, and you have 4 of the best players in the league all under, contract for the Bengals, I don't think this helps Cincinnati. I still think Cincinnati is right now is in a bad spot and not a playoff team in 2025 because we saw those guys play at elite levels last year and they still missed the playoffs. So if you're going to pay Chase, Higgins, Hendrickson record-breaking or close to it money, that means every other position on the roster, you're not going to be able to upgrade. The Bengals need upgrades on the offensive line. They need upgrades around Trey Hendrickson on the defensive line. They need upgrades at linebacker. They could use some upgrades in the secondary. They need help everywhere. Trading out Lou Anarumo for Al Golden is not making this defense any better overnight. They need talent. And putting all that money into just 4 guys is not helping you make the playoffs because guess what? Those guys all played at elite levels last year. It did not matter. They were not a playoff team. So I think if you're the Bengals, I think they made a mistake in paying T. Higgins. I think they should have traded T, not extended him. Because wide receiver 2 is the position that you can most easily replace, I should say. There are plenty of receivers now in the draft. You can sign out of free agency. Like receiver, there's so much talent. You can find someone to plug in next to Chase and have them produce. You don't need to be paying a wide receiver 2 almost $30 million a year when your O-line sucks and your defense stinks. You do not need to be doing that. You should have reallocated that $29 million per year to the defensive line, to the linebacker room, to the O-line. You could have got one player at each with that amount of money to upgrade your defense. I don't see how having the number 1 passing offense in the league last year and doubling down and giving your top 2 receivers $69 million per season is the right move for the Bengals to get back to where they want to be, which is a championship contender that they were just not that long ago. How does that make sense? You saw, if you're the Bengals, what ruined your season last year. Wasn't Joe Burrow. Wasn't the offense. It was the defense. The defense that could not hold the lead. That was one of the worst in terms of points per game allowed. One of the worst in terms of yards per game allowed. That is the problem area. They were proof. The Bengals were proof. Having an elite offense and no defense does not mean you're a championship contender. Does not even mean you're a playoff team. Why they are doubling down on the positions that they don't need to double down on and ignoring the problem areas that single-handedly derailed their season last year is bad management. It's bad resource allocation. Makes no sense. You want to pay Jamar Chase? Fine. I think it's the right move. I would have done it. You want to pay Trey Hendrickson? Right move, absolutely. You should have traded T. Higgins. There is no way to justify keeping T. Higgins on your team when you need that money and the draft capital that he would bring back, probably a second-round pick. You need those resources spread out to the rest of the team. Not invested in a wide receiver 2. Makes no sense to me. I looked it up in terms of, what it kind of takes to be a playoff contender. Last year, the team with the worst defense that made the playoffs was the Commanders. They were 18th in the league in terms of points per game allowed. The Bengals, again, were 25th. 25th. Really nowhere close. Firing your DC is not good enough. You need to get talent on that defense. How you get talent on that defense? Trading T. Higgins and using the money you would have spent to pay him to upgrade that defense. I don't think paying Joe Burrow, paying Chase, paying Higgins, paying Hendrickson, premium money, top of the market money, and ignoring basically every other position on your team, ignoring the 48 out of the 52 guys on your roster is how you get to the playoffs. It does not work in 2025. That's the road the Bengals are going down. I think it's the wrong one. I think they're making a mistake here in at least extending T. Higgins. I got no problem with Chase, no problem with Hendrickson. extending T. Higgins is where I had the biggest issue with what the Bengals are doing.